Hello guys, welcome to the Game and Frame spring preview of the Cosmopolitan League. I'm delighted to be joined today by Steve Cortiasis and Kale Etong from the oldest club in the Cosmopolitan League, one of the oldest clubs in America. We are currently sitting second place in Division 1, just 1 point off the top. Guys, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us, Josh.
Thanks for having us.
So, guys, I have to start right from the beginning of Hoboken's history, which, you know, I know neither of you were around in 1912, but if you could just give me some of the backstory of the club's roots and how long has it been in Division 1, etc.
Kale, you wanna go into it?
Yeah, sure. So, because Hoboken FC, obviously, we've been around since 1912, and we've competed every year since. So we're certainly very proud of the history that the club has, and all of our members are aware of it, and we ensure that, you know, we have a responsibility to ensure that the club moves forward. The club was started in 1912 by German immigrants, and we are the only New Jersey team because, you know, way back then we were part of the Cosmopolitan League and you know, involved in local football, and we've over time have been grandfathered into the New York League, and hence the reason why we're the only Jersey team. But our rich history was certainly started in German roots and German immigrants who first came to the US and just really wanted to play. Thankfully we've stuck around ever since then, and we have many club members who've been part of the club for basically north of 50 years, for example. So quite a rich history.
So it's interesting, Josh. We have holiday parties in the middle of the year and then end of the year parties, and there are members that come to the parties who are in their 80s and 90 years old, who have been members of the club ever since they were in the playing days. And as Kale had mentioned, we've fielded teams consecutively every single year since our founding year. And the club used to have a youth team, and a lot of the folks who come to those parties and meet a lot of the newer players that are on the team used to play for those youth teams and used to get brought up in the Hoboken FC system. So certainly really proud of the history, but for us, I think we always look to take the club to the next level, both from a playing side, but also as a club. You know, there's a lot of teams that call themselves teams or clubs, and we're a true club in the sense that we field multiple different teams, and it's not just a footballing club. It's an organization and a group of people who have all sorts of experiences together, and we try to push that along, and we try to, as some of the elder statesmen of the group, try to set the right example for the young guys coming in.
If there's one aspect of having a club that thrives for over 100 years, one fundamental thing you think Hoboken has done right over the generations, what is it?
I think we're really focused on ensuring that the passion that we have for the club is transferred to just being dedicated and ensuring that we're committed. It really comes down to a matter of commitment and love for the club. And we just use that as our motivation to ensure that we grow the club on a yearly basis and ensure that we plant good roots to ensure that we move forward in years to come.
Kale is simplifying it, because when you ask the question, Josh, for me, I mean, for a club like ours, for any club, when you look at the European system and the history behind a lot of the clubs there, for clubs to succeed over the long term, it takes, it's 5, 6, 10, 12, 20 different things combined all together, consistency over long periods of time. And I think what it all really boils down to is people, right? The players, the staff, everybody that's around in the club, we all maintain a certain mentality. We all have a certain attitude about the club. And bringing people on board who maintain that attitude and who are the right people to pick up the club and take it from where it is to another place. That sense of responsibility, I think, comes down to just the people that are involved in the club. And obviously, as years go by, you the people who are in charge of the club or in higher positions always try to fill the club and regenerate the club with folks who maintain that growth mindset. And I think, ever since I've been on the team, which has been over 12 years now, regardless of who's been in place, there's always been that consistency in mindset in success. And success for us means multiple different things. And that's both on the field and off the field, and making sure that we have folks in place that recognize that, I think is really important. And that's been a staple at the club since I've been around. And I'm sure, it's been a staple at the club for 50, 60, 70, 100 years.
So let's move to the present day now. The success we've seen in the field for Hoboken in full season, you guys are the only unbeaten side still in Division 1. If I obviously only saw you guys once this season, but it was, an incredible 3-0 win at the home of Richmond County. You're the only team who shut them out. Richmond County just scored for fun. Looking at the results, the first 8 games, right, you did everything right. You beat Borgetto, you beat Richmond, you beat everyone. And then the last 3, you lost some steam. So I was interested, what do you think, firstly, kind of fueled that really incredible first kind of 2/3 of the season? And what was it that kind of led to those drop points in the last 3 games?
Kelly, you want to go first?
Steve, you go first.
Okay. So it's interesting, Josh. So first off, you say it right. We went 8 games on a win streak. But, let's also keep in mind that although there were 3 draws at the end of the year, we're an undefeated team, which I've been around the Cosmopolitan League for a very long time. Shamrocks won the league last year undefeated, and it's a very, very difficult feat that not many teams can accomplish throughout the years. Since I've been in Hoboken, we've only gone undefeated once, and that was our reserve team a few years ago. So, the answer sometimes is situational in nature as it comes down to the games. And sometimes it's, we're amateur teams, player availability always has something to do with it. As that sort of progresses along, sometimes things get challenging for different reasons as different players go out and you have to adapt your style. And, as you get on a run and consistency and you start getting consistent, when you start to lose 1 or 2 pieces from that pie, it starts getting very challenging from the standpoint of making sure that you're consistent in your playing style and making sure that you're building on that playing style match day after match day. Right. So, I don't think, to be completely candid with you, I don't think that our performances for the last 3 matches were dramatically different than the 8 performances prior to that. I think we were missing some of the cutting edge to finish the chances off. And, we see this time and time again in the league. Games are competitive until a team scores 1 or 2 goals, and then games are no longer competitive anymore. So being able to get that goal, being able to get the goal early, being able to set the tone, really changes the way that the other teams typically approach the matches and sort of what the mindset of the other teams are too. I mean, it's funny because through the years, when I first started on the team, we were not in first place. It was not consistent for us to be finishing in first place and to be fighting for championships. And now you notice that teams approach you differently as you start to get into that first position. And that game versus Hoboken FC, for a lot of those teams, they play as if it's the biggest game of their season. And for us, we have to approach every game with a clean mindset, take it step by step, and approach every opponent as another step along our journey to go off and accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Sorry, you go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, Josh, the only thing I would add to is that, as we go through, we understand that the season is, the league season is 22 games long. We've only completed 11 of them, and there's certainly opportunity to, try to get into the first place position. But the focus on continuous remains on ourselves. We ensure that we do the right things at all times. And the way league football goes is that sometimes, you don't get the call, as Steve mentioned, player availability. Some teams just have a good day. You may have somewhat of an off day. You miss certain chances and you find yourself drawing a game. So we just are really focused on trying to do the right things at all times. And we know that should reap really good results.
And just to build on one point that Kale made, it's funny is like I've tried to make it a point to not look at the table through the years of playing this game and being a manager. It's hard to do that, especially as a player when you're really competing for something. You really want to know, what the other teams are doing, how they're performing, how they're playing. But really, for us, it's important. It's an important aspect and one that we try to spread to the players of. We try to focus on every step at a time and really try to control the things that we can control and put in what we want to get out of it. And if we do that, we were confident that we're going to be successful. So we try not to focus on things that are going on around us. We feel that obviously there's always a lot of noise and focusing in on ourselves and what we can do and the things that we can control is really how we approach every match day and how we approach it as an aggregate.
So you said, Steve, how Hoboken, you've kind of become now a team that every opponent kind of fears to play, right? Because your record is very strong. You don't concede goals really. So I guess looking to spring season, there's probably that old cliche, there's not going to be an easy game. You have to approach that as a coach. But if you had to pick, I'm going to make you pick 1 or 2 games, right? Where you're really like, this is the 6-pointer. Is there one or 2 games on that calendar where you're really like, we've got to do it? Or is it just everyone's the same?
Gosh, every game is a 6-pointer. Every game is a 6-pointer for us. Yeah. Again, what I said previously stands in the sense that we're not looking at what's going on around us. We're looking at what we can do and how we can control our destiny and how we can control our future. And I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I forget, 5 or 6 years ago, whatever it was. Yeah. Kale remembers, maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
It's like 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
We were fighting for promotion from the second. As you can tell, Kale and I have been involved in the club for a very long time, both as players and on the managerial side too. So we have a ton of experience in the Cosmopolitan League and a ton of stories. But a few years ago, we were on a great run. We were fighting for promotion, and we were playing, I believe it was FC Japan. It was a cold night in Randall's Island, and that particular day, for whatever reason, whether it was because Japan was in last place and had only won or picked up a couple of points, some of the players on the team had decided that they didn't want to make the trip out to Randall's Island on that night, on a Saturday night, and play FC Japan, and we ended up losing that game, and it almost cost us promotion at the end of the year. Luckily, we pulled through at the end of the year and we got promoted to the first division. But it goes to show you that regardless of whether you're in first place or you're in last place or you're anywhere in between, every team is capable of hurting you. And back to the point of being an amateur team and having players in and having players out, just because another team's best player or best sets of players were not there for 2, 3, 4 games, they can come in and make a difference in any game. So, for us, we know that we have experience. We have that type of experience, which sort of leads us into that type of approach where we just want to focus on ourselves and we just want to focus on every game. Every opponent is going to be difficult in different ways. Yeah. Richmond is certainly just as difficult as Stalmilek is just as difficult as some of the teams that play on at McCarran Park in Brooklyn, which is a challenging field to play at just because of the dimension. So every game poses its own challenges, and you just got to rise to it every single match day to win. I mean, again, going back to Shamrock's accomplishment last year, they won the league undefeated. They only lost a few points. So to win in the first division, every game matters, and every game is a 6-pointer. You drop a few points here and there, and that makes a difference. And on the flip side, back to the draws, single points often also win championships as you're going off and picking up draws in games that you otherwise would have lost in other times. So, Kale and I understand that, both being as players and being on the management team. And I don't want to disappoint you, Josh, and not create some buzz around.
I know. I'm just trying to create hype. That's all I'm trying to do, is create hype.
Yeah, really, we know that in order to win, that's how we have to approach it. Yeah. And again, every team is challenging in their own right, and any team can beat anybody on their day. Yeah. You see it all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Josh, the game that Steve was referencing against FC Japan a few years ago that we lost, that was actually the team's only loss of the entire season. And that was similarly, I believe, that year our reserve team went undefeated, but the first team, that was their only loss. And FC Japan was a team that we traditionally tended to get the 3 points, and I think it really just goes to show how competitive the CSL is, that on any given day you could lose a football match. So we try to approach every single game with a level of intensity and work ethic to ensure that we try to get 6 points. There's not a single match where we try to think we get complacent. We don't. There are, like, in my experience, there are 3 points is never guaranteed. You have to work for it. And so
you don't win it based on name either. You don't win games in this league based on your name. You have to go out there and prove it every single time that you're at the top of your game in order to go off and win games, but also win championships.
Yeah.
I have to share one story where a team absences cost them promotion, and because I find this one really funny. CPR, they had a wedding, and so against Eintracht, bottom of the table, Eintracht lost every game. They lost that game, and Sanzak, from being 6 points behind with like 3 games left, managed to pit them.
Wow.
And I did speak to Mike Carducci a couple of weeks, and he said weddings are going to be banned on the weekend for spring season this year.
So it's funny. We're like Kale and I are no excuse guys, no excuse types of guys. We don't like to make excuses. We don't like to point fingers at other people. We like to look within ourselves and within our teams to see what we can do and how we can improve. And we try to get to the guys. You have how many weeks during the summer and in the winter to go off and travel and do all of these other things. During the weekends on Sundays, you need to be at the games. And it's funny, like, we've had guys before in the past. When I first joined the team, there were twins that were playing on the team, which we actually have twins again that are playing on the team this year. But there were twins, and one of the twins was getting married, and he got married and came back to the game on Sunday to play the game. So, we hold we're laughing, but, Kel and I, we understand that this is an amateur team and there's a level of fun that's involved in it. But, there is, in order to be successful at anything, you have to have a level of professionalism and commitment and dedication. And we feel that way about football, just as we do about our lives and our jobs outside of football. So we try to spread that around in the team and get everybody on board and make sure that we have folks on board that see things the way that we do. And no excuses for us. You got a wedding on Sunday, make sure that you drive back in time for the game. Make sure you drive back in time for the game.
Yeah.
So.
and we're very fortunate to have some really committed guys on the team who will have weddings. I mean, weddings is something that happens all the time. We've had guys who would go on a wedding on far away on like a Saturday evening, but be back Sunday morning 10 a.m. to play a football game. And we really admire these guys. These guys are really committed to the club. And these are the type of people that really keep the club moving forward and ensure that we have a solid base to ensure we exist in the future.
So potential brides for Hoboken players, beware. Your special day is going to have an endpoint if it's on a Saturday.
So the funny part, Josh, is that we field obviously the first and a reserve team, but we also field an over 30 team currently and a women's team and a veterans team. But we've had couples before who have played both on the women's team and on the men's team get together and actually get married and,
wow.
and have children. So in that case, maybe we'll make a small exception, but in most cases we won't. So
Kale, you're talking about a lot of players have been with the team for a while. You both said about how the consistency of the personnel over the years has been crucial for just Hoboken's history. Your first team squad, what is kind of the average amount of years that a player has been with this team? Because I certainly recognize a lot from when I streamed you guys the season before, which is different to even a lot of the teams we've streamed.
Yeah, that's a good question, Josh. I think this year we've been very fortunate to have some really quality players join the club and club members. But between the first and I would extend it to the reserve team as well. I would probably say the average is around 4 to 5 years. A lot of the players have been around for quite some time, and we do demand a lot of our players, but it's a really good community that we have, and this is why players keep coming back, because a lot of the majority of my best of friends are all like Hoboken FC players and club members. So this helps us really ensure that we have a really tight-knit group. And when we have new players and club members who join, they recognize that they're part of something really special, and they become part of our tight-knit community as well to help us grow forward.
And again, what we mentioned earlier about Hoboken FC being an actual club, a real club in that sense, that's something that we try to bring forward. And the club offers players and staff and members a lot of different things outside of just coming and playing football and coming to training and then coming to the games on Sundays. Again, every couple of years we traditionally take a trip. We take a trip as a club to some part of the world and play friendlies and travel together. I mean, Cale and I have traveled to Italy. We've traveled to Spain. We've traveled to Portugal. We've played internationally. We've won internationally. We've gotten beaten horribly internationally. We've scored goals internationally. So those experiences and once players get into the club and they start to see what's around it beyond just the footballing aspect, which again is extraordinarily competitive. Once they see everything else that's involved in it, I think that certainly helps retention, particularly in an area where this is a high transit area. I mean, people are coming in, people are leaving. A lot of people are maybe not from New Jersey or New York area or here for work, stay 2 or 3 years and then leave, or are from this area and go elsewhere. So, we certainly, have seen a lot of turnover, but that turnover, whether they leave or they go elsewhere, they still remain, most of these guys still remain friends of the club. And there's guys who have gone and played for the team for 4, 5, 6 years and then have moved away for 5 years. And they still come on the trips with us. They still come to the winter parties. When they're back in town, they come to training. So, the community, as Cale has mentioned, for us, it's important to just grow that community to as many people as possible. And if you pick up and you leave Hoboken FC for whatever reason, I mean, in all likelihood, you're going to be welcome back here and you're going to be a part of the family and you're going to be a part of the history. And the players feel that. And I think that, that makes the club a little bit special and unique in a country where it's tough to find that, right? You go to Germany or France or other places, there's a ton of clubs out there who have that sort of unique history, but here in the United States, it's tough to find it. So people who really love the game see that, and it's an attractive aspect of the club.
So I wanted to ask a bit about the style of play, because the one time that I saw you guys this season, and I had Rob Rossicone commentating with me, and we both noticed Hoboken, it was the most professional performance we've seen in the league, right? It's an amateur league, but in terms of the way you guys played, it was the game management. You did not give really Richmond a sniff of the goal. You let them have plenty of the ball for a lot of the game, but then it was like, you soaked up the pressure and then you just struck, and you struck with absolute ruthlessness. And it was like watching a boxer just tiring out his opponent before going for the knockout. What is, without giving away your tactical playbook, Steve, what is the Hoboken? How do you want a Hoboken team to be playing? What is the DNA on the field?
So it's an interesting question, Josh. So again, Cale and I have a ton of experience, both as players, and that experience, leads us to approach both, the way that we want the team to play, as well as, from a general standpoint, as well as how we want to play in each individual match. And again, I think oftentimes it's, being a manager, and I've never been a manager of a professional club, so I'm saying this, without having the experience, that sort of experience. But I certainly know a lot of professional coaches and players, and you have the benefit as a professional coach to really develop your own style and bring in players into the club that are really representative of that style and can help you develop the style and bring that style forward. As amateur teams, you really don't have you don't really have that luxury. Sure, we sign players. We have over 100 trialists coming out in the summer, and we try to build a team, that we think is going to be the most competitive. But I think being adaptable, having the ability to be adaptable and malleable, and being able to have players that are both on the bench, but players also that are in the club generally that can help you to combat certain styles and play a certain type of football on certain days is really important. And for Kale and I is a little bit more about an understanding of who our players are on the pitch, what their strengths and what their weaknesses are. And once we start putting those players together, how can we approach games differently to go off and get a result? Generally speaking, and when you see most of our games, we like to be a possession-oriented team who likes to press our opponents, be physically fit to go off and press our opponents, and be clinical in front of net. Now, we try to focus obviously on the 4 phases of play, just like most other teams do, but it's challenging to be able to say this is your style and you're going to stick to this style forever against every opponent, because 1 or 2 players are missing who have a couple characteristics that help you play that style, and then all of a sudden you start to develop some weak links inside of the team, not from a personnel standpoint, but from a characteristic standpoint. So it would be nice if things were more cut and dry, and we could have a set of 20 players that we focus on, that we go off and just train in one particular manner with certain aspects of our game. But I think being able to be malleable and being able to form the team to meet different challenges, I think is really what's important in winning games. And again, I use games like I use fields like McCarran Park as an example, because it's difficult to play a possession oriented game in a field like McCarran Park that's extremely narrow. Right. So if your team is fixated on using width to create space, and overlapping runs or underlapping runs to create space and create opportunities, that team is going to have a difficult time, regardless of how good the individual players are, when the field is 10 meters shorter or 10 meters narrower than a normal field. So having players on the bench that can give you a different element to your game when those types of situations arise, I think is more important to us than really sticking to one style. Again, we have a concept in our mind of how we want to play and what we want to do with the ball and what we want to do without the ball. But being adaptable to that style, I think, is really what gets the results. Kale?
Yeah, I think just to add on to what Steve is saying, regardless of the tactics and, formations and things like that, there are just some basic fundamentals that come along with playing for Hoboken FC. The focus always has to remain on ourselves. We try to control what we can, and not get distracted by anything else, whether it be the referee, the fans, the opposing team, whatever is going on, the weather. Like, no excuses. The focus always has to be on the things that we can control. You give 100% of your effort at all times, and that's the very minimum expectation to play for our club. Is that you go out there and, yes, you want to have fun, but we do so by winning. No one has fun losing, and we're not really a club that wants to lose and have fun. Like, that to me just doesn't make no sense. Like, if you want to have fun, you must want to win. And we go into every game with the expectation that you must win. You must give 100% of your effort, and always just be respectful and be positive with your teammates. And this is what we firmly believe it creates a winning squad. Everyone must have a winning mentality and an attitude to ensure that, regardless if we're winning, whether if we're losing, the objective is to stay professional, continue to work hard, and ensure that we get those 3 points.
And back to what we were saying before, the cohesiveness of the team, and having a team that really fights as one unit and works as one unit is important, no matter what the style of play is, right? If you're playing as 11 individual players, you're not going to succeed, even if those players are technically better than everybody else, right? You have to have that level of cohesion, and the players have to understand each other, and the players also have to understand their role on the pitch. And obviously it's the coaches and the staff's job to go off and and tell the players and make sure the players understand what the expectations are from a tactical standpoint, but also, as Cale mentioned, from our expectation of what what it takes from an attitude standpoint and a mentality standpoint to win. And Josh, it's funny because there's a lot of Cale and I talk a lot about how football and the team and the club and managing the club and the way that you approach it is reflective in your everyday life, right? If you want to be successful at something, and it requires hard work, and it requires a level of commitment, and it requires a level of teamwork. And unless we have those elements, we're not going to be successful. And if that success is winning the league or winning the cup, we're never going to reach those goals unless we're one unit. And that's really, really important to us in building that cohesion where guys are just going out there and just, playing for the guys next to them and making sure that they're giving everything they have, because, they don't want to let the other players on the pitch down if they're making mistakes or forget about even mistakes if they're not working at 150%. And that's what we really expect. I don't care if someone touches the ball incorrectly or places a bad pass or miscrosses it, or if you're working really, really hard and you display the right mentality and the right attitude and you're committed, luck is the hard work. You get lucky the harder you work, right? And if the guys are working hard, it's going to fall into place.
If you guys were to finish at the top of Division 1 this season or sometime down the line, would you want to go to the EPSL, or is Division 1 kind of where you want Hoboken to be at?
Yeah, that's a great question, Josh. I think obviously the first hurdle is ensuring that we finish in first place to even be in the opportunity to even make that decision, right? I think it's a really, really fortunate position to be in. I think would we want the club certainly has aspirations to continue to grow and play at a much higher level, and the EPSL naturally is in that progression. So obviously, as being in management, there are certain things that have to take place, and there are certain foundational things that you need to do to ensure that you're actually successful at the EPSL. So, for example, if we do get promoted to the EPSL, obviously we can only field one team, but we have many players who we will still need to play. So therefore, we would love to create probably more teams to then play in whether it be Division 2, Division 3 of the CSL. And so there are a lot of questions that need to be answered from an infrastructure perspective on our end. But we certainly have the aspirations to continue to grow. And we know that we have the right folks in the club, in the management to help us make the right decisions to continue to grow to that level.
We have these conversations internally, Josh, all the time about, and whether that's EPSL or whatever it is, we have conversations as to, I think really ultimately the question is how do you define success? Right. And, from a manager standpoint, a coach's standpoint, it's tough for me to think about, would we go to the EPSL when my job is, again, to win every game. And in order to win every game, you have to take it one game at a time. You don't really have the luxury of thinking about, hey, what if we make it here? What's going to happen, right? That being said, I've fulfilled a bunch of roles at this team beyond just the manager. And, there is that aspect, as Cale said, of sustainability that I think is really important. And you'll never see Hoboken FC do something for the sake of just doing it, right? We're not going to enter into cup competitions or certain competitions or do certain things just to say that we are doing them, right? We want to make sure that it's the best decision for our teams and the best decision for our club as a whole. And, when you're only fielding one or maybe two teams, those decisions oftentimes are made a little bit easier. But when you have 150 club members and players and staff and people who sort of, rely on other folks to be sustainable and to create a sustainable club that's going to make it years and years down the line, that's a totally different question altogether. And, we absolutely do not want to be like, and this is not a knock on the UPSL by any stretch of the imagination, because there's a ton of quality teams and infrastructure in the UPSL, but I think the average lifespan of a team there is 2 years. So, it's not difficult to build a team that's going to go off and win a championship, right? It's difficult to build a team and a club that's going to be there year after year and compete on the field, but offer its members and club and club just generally a really safe place to go and make friends and have different experiences and play football at a very high level. So, for us, the question is not, do we want to compete at that level? Because if that was the only question, then yes, absolutely. I mean, in this conversation, Josh, I think you've understood that Kale and I are extraordinarily ambitious, and we hold very high expectation of ourselves and the club and the folks around us, and we're in it to be the best that we can be, and that means playing against the best teams. And we've been there as players, and we've been there in management too. So we understand. Maybe we have the benefit of understanding, what we would be getting ourselves into by going up to the EPSL and what type of infrastructure is needed to be successful there.
All right. And I've got 2 more questions. One I think you're not going to like, and one I think you are going to like. I'm going to start with the one you're not going to like first, so we end on a high note. In your guts of guts, forgetting tactics, strategy, because you guys, you plan things out a lot. I know you'll take things game by game, but if you forgot all that stuff, in your gut, where is Hoboken going to finish in Division 1 at the end of this season?
My gut tells me that we're going to finish in first, because every day we are committed to ensuring that we accomplish our goals. I'm a firm believer that you get what you work for, particularly in league football and in the CSL, and every minute of every single game matters. And we approach every minute of every game like we want to win. So the objective and my vision for our team is to finish in first place, and to really win every game. So the natural answer to that question is yes, I expect us to finish in first.
There's no plan B, Josh. There's plan A, and plan A is to finish in first place and win the league. And plan A is also to win the New Jersey State Cup. For me, and Kale is the same way, and a lot of the folks that are around the team from a management and player standpoint have the same attitude. We're here to win. We're here to win it. We want to win it. We're here to win it.
Yeah, we work extremely hard. We have our day jobs, but we're really focused on Hoboken FC as well. We ask our players to sacrifice not only their time, but also their effort by coming to training. During games, we demand an extremely high level. And it's only fair that we finish in first place, because that is the expectation, the standard that we set. And I would be very upset if we don't, because, I know how much our players sacrifice and how much we ask of them and how much we demand of them. And the only reason we hold them to this standard is so that we could win things.
And the quality too. I mean, Josh, we said it from the beginning. People is the people are the base element of the club and what makes the club successful. And, we have a group of 50 guys, and, I don't say this to the guys, obviously, but, last year and this year were probably, in my time at the club, the best group of guys that we've had. And I'm not just talking about from a quality standpoint. I'm talking about a commitment standpoint and the mentality standpoint and the level of cohesion. I mean, and just just being good people and good footballers. We have been really lucky to be around a group of guys who are pushing us on the other end to work really hard and make sure that we're doing the right things and putting the right things in place for them to be successful. So, it takes that give and take, and it takes that relationship, to be successful. And I'm not just saying it because we're having this talk, but, the guys are everything to us. And, we as coaches would do anything for these guys. And I can't say enough, like how great of a group we have of people, and, how great they are around each other, and how great the training sessions are. And, it really is something really special. And having the opportunity to go off and win trophies is also a really special thing. And, being a player and having won those trophies before in the past, understanding that feeling after you've accomplished that goal is something that Kel and I really want to see really want to see some of the players who haven't experienced that at this club experience, and and they want it. So, we're all in. I mean, we've always been all in, and we're all in to win it. There's no plan B for us. We're here to win every game. Every time we go into a game, we don't think about drawing, even if it's a friendly. The motto is to win every game.
Well, I'm very excited for this title race in spring. I think it's going to be incredible. And the last question I had for you guys, having seen the Cosmopolitan League over many years, how have you seen the league around you change? Not just in terms of level, but also in terms of the community, that the different people that are coming into it.
Yeah, I think the over the time and having the opportunity to play and then become part of management as well has really introduced me to many of the other coaches and management across other teams. And I genuinely believe that the New York footballing community, and specifically the CSL, where it's very special, right? Because we have 12 teams we have almost so many divisions, first and reserve, so many different teams in a very small area. And it's not common in other parts of the world where we have this very small cosmopolitan area that has so many different teams, and the competition is really, really high. And everyone is really dedicated. You will notice that it's, one of the things I really enjoy, and this can sound almost like basic, but when there are matches, the matches take place, they continue. We play regardless of whatever the weather is, whatever the conditions are, and teams are really excited to come on and just play soccer and football, which is really good. And getting to know other teams, other players from other teams, managers, coaches, you realize that
out there.
Yeah, certainly, right. But you realize that we're all in for the same thing. Like, we love the game. Everyone loves the game. It gets really, really heated during games, but after, we could laugh and we could joke, because we know that at the end of the day, like, we're just trying to be, contributing to the local footballing community. We're trying to ensure that we, put players in a position where they could have fun, and play football at a very high level. And every year we hope to continue this, because the Cosmo League has been around for a really long time. And over the past 2 or 3 years, you notice that we have new teams coming in. The creation of the EPSL has helped us somewhat, and that has created room for other teams to come into the lower divisions as well, and give other teams the opportunity to play at like Division 1 and Division 2 at a higher level. So it's really, really impressive how the Cosmo League has grown. It's really exciting to see new teams coming in, and I think generally speaking, the competition is just a lot higher. 1 through 12, like, you could lose a game on any given week, and a few years ago that likely wasn't the case, but it just keeps the competition high. Interest is we're just always thinking about what we could do better, because we know that other teams are thinking the same thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, from when I started, so a couple of things. From when I started playing, I absolutely agree with Kel. I think the level of competition, just from a footballing standpoint and the quality standpoint, has improved dramatically. And I like to equate it to just generally like the New Jersey State Cup, for instance. It is infinitely more difficult and challenging now to win the New Jersey State Cup than it was when I first started on the team, because the footballing community has created a few more teams and has brought more quality to the table. And we don't want to see our competition fail. We're the exact opposite of that. We want to see teams like Richmond and teams like Shamrock and teams like Manhattan Celtic succeed and build and grow. And, that creates a more competitive environment for us, that challenges us, that pushes us to a new level, and that pushes everybody to a new level. And that generally increases the quality of all of the football around you. And, Kale is 100% right about just the community being supportive and everybody being great. But, there's been so much turnover. I think the other day I was looking at, the statistics from my first season here, and in the entirety of the league, which was 4 or 5 divisions, there's only a handful of teams that are still around from that time. And that was, 12, 13 years ago, which doesn't seem like a lot of time for me. Obviously, for other people, it does.
I was still playing with Lego back then, to be honest.
Yeah, but there's a lot of those teams that aren't around anymore. Most of those teams aren't around, and I don't want to see that. I want to see the exact opposite. I want to see, I know Richmond is a relatively young group, but I want to see Richmond around for another 20, 30, 40. We want teams like that to continue to improve and continue to get better, and and raise the game of everybody around them. Mm-hmm. We want to play football at a high level, and we want to provide an opportunity for the boys to play football at a high level. And that's only done with healthy competition, and, exactly. And healthy competition is only done with consistency and longevity. Yeah. And building that camaraderie, and also, starting new rivalries. Frankly, all of a sudden these new teams come up and are starting to rival you, and these games turn to be very, very intense games. And I want to see those teams stick around for more than a couple of years, like certain other leagues around the country. And I want to see more longevity. Obviously, it's challenging given the way that the structure of the football is in the United States, and how difficult it is to sort of maintain a team and grow a team without a ton of opportunity to build revenue and to get promoted. But, there's the love of the game is there, right? It's just about building the infrastructure, having the organization. And, one of the things I think, and not to get too far into this, but, I feel as though, in order to build successful clubs, you have to have infrastructure at the club, right? You can't have one or two people who basically run the team or fund the team or operate the team solely. That takes a community, and that takes a group of people. And I want to see our biggest rivals succeed, and I want to see them grow, and I want just the level to continue to increase until we get to a point where we have to continue shifting teams into the league and creating new divisions, because the competition is so great and people are working so hard to build that. And there's so many examples of teams out there that have started along the right path and are doing the right things. And, I just want to see them be around 5-10 years from now. I want to see them stick around and be a staple in the community, and in the Cosmopolitan League and in New York and the tri-state footballing community. I think, we got a great community, and it's got to build, and it needs committed people and dedicated people to do that.
Yep. And obviously I think one of the greatest advancements we've made as well too in the CSL over the past years is, the ability to stream games, right? Like having Game in Frame is, I do believe the work that, you guys do is like incredible, because when we first joined, like the thought of even streaming a game just didn't exist. The sponsor.
Forget about the CSL subsidizing money to help.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You might want to cut that one out of the.
We've had the opportunity to at our sponsor bar in Mulligan's, like play a game in a bar that has sponsored us, and like these are things that we never even thought were realistic. Like, we only watch soccer on like football on TV, right? But I think having the ability to stream the games is like such an amazing tool, because now we could actually market the league a bit more, and it creates a lot more awareness. The increasing the competition means that we increase the quality of the league, which draws high quality players to the league, and the ability to stream the games and market our quality then actually lends itself to having more sponsorships, having more players join, a lot of more engagement, a lot more fan engagement, which ensures that the community continually grows and lays a really good foundation for us to be successful.
Okay, I feel like we got to have a business meeting now. Sorry, I just got to say, I feel like we got to have a business meeting now, because what you just said, sponsorship and stuff, that stuff I've been saying like till I'm blue in the face for six months, but it's been incredible, the CSL sport. Sorry, Steve.
It's funny, Josh, because I'm from Greece. My family is Greek, and all these years that I've been playing and been involved in Hoboken FC, I think most of my family probably thought that I was just involved in some Sunday league. And now I've sent the links around when we've been streaming the games, and the comments back are like, okay, so you guys actually do know what you're doing. You guys actually do know what you're doing. So it validates Kale and I's commitment to the club a little bit. But listen, I mean, what you do do, Josh, what some of the other folks that are doing it's absolutely necessary to be able to promote the league and to be able to promote the players and promote the teams. And, we're so happy to have guys like you and other folks who are committed to doing that, because we know it's not easy trekking around, with all your equipment, getting it set up.
We did 3 games 2 weekends ago in 20-degree weather. My feet have never been so cold in my entire life.
It's
it's a love of the game, man.
What you guys go through. So, we're super appreciative of that. And, and Kale and I are, specifically, we very much, we have our own thoughts, obviously, on how the league can continue to grow, and getting other people involved who are interested in sort of driving some change and helping to grow the league and grow the way people look at our league and our teams is great. And the work that you guys do is just helps to push that along a little bit more. And we couldn't be more thankful for you guys to helping the league out and doing all this stuff. It's great.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. And I have to say, actually, it's interesting you're talking about your family back home, because when I first streamed the CSL, I'd only been in New York for about 6 months. I had no idea what the Cosmopolitan League was. And to be honest with you, being a bit of a snobbish Englishman, I was like, American Amateur League. And it was Sanzak brought us in, right? Sanzak, Feast Me Still. I was like, I don't know what this can be like. And it was like one of the most entertaining games. It was 4-3. It wasn't just, and that's Division 2, but it wasn't just the level was really good, but it was also just the intensity of the communities. It just blew me away. And I think from that first time I did it, I was like, the CSL, you don't need to have some fancy marketing strategy. You don't need to embellish. You just need to show what is actually happening in terms of the quality on the field and the commitment. And who wouldn't want to be a part of that if you love football? Because it's just incredible. I mean, some of the moments that we've seen have, like, I'm going to remember these games like that I've seen the CSL for the rest of my life. Like, even if one day I'm lucky enough to commentate on a Premier League game, I'm going to forever remember Messi Sekic's goal to send Sanzak into Division 1. Like, I'm going to remember stuff from this season as the drama gets towards the end. It's like an incredible division.
Something incredibly special about football at this level. And, obviously you it, Josh, from where you grew up, and having the passion locally for your local team is something that is really lacking in the United States. And coming in and seeing those sorts of games and some of the fan base and the intensity of the players around it and the quality, really, it makes you sort of scratch your head as to why is the structure the way that it is when there's so many passionate people out there for the game and so many communities, that really just want to take the next step and take it to the next level. And, unfortunately, a lot of the infrastructure is different, but the passion is absolutely there. And, and the quality of the players, I'll tell you again, from when I started, the quality of the players in the league, and we see it just from our team alone, the quality of the players of the league are great. And, when you're looking at both the EPSL and, players in certain teams in the Cosmopolitan League, these were players that a lot of these players potentially could have played semi-professionally or professionally, during or after their college years. But because of life and what have you, they've decided not to do it. And for those players to find a home where they can go off and play competitively, and for the league to have teams that have those types of players in there is a win-win. And there's a lot of those kinds of players out there, quality, and a lot of teams that are quality, all the way through, and both from the playing standpoint and the organizational standpoint, it's there. The passion for the game, the love for the game is there. I mean, we love it. I mean, we feel it, we love it. And again, just we may be different than some of our competition in the sense that we really do. I'll say it again. We really do. We want people to succeed, and we want communities and families to be grown. And that's part of our ethos at the club generally, is making sure that there's community involvement and making sure that people know about the club, and that we're also going out and helping the community and doing the right thing. So doing the right things and acting the right way. And I see it from other clubs, and it's just like what you said, Josh. You see some of these games, and the quality is there, the passion is there, all of these elements are there. It makes you wonder, with a little bit of additional infrastructure and organization, where we can take it.
Well, Steve and Kel, it was really great to talk with you guys. Thanks so much for your time. Thank you for sharing the history, the kind of ethos, the DNA of the oldest club in the CSL and one of the oldest clubs in the club. It's been like honestly really fascinating. Really looking forward to seeing you guys at some point on the field in spring season. And last question, Steve, and I have to say congratulations because I know your wife is expecting. How many years will it be until the new member of your family is wearing a Hoboken shirt or a cap?
Oh, well, I've got a little baby onesie that I'm going to put on him, a little baby onesie that I'm going to put on him, once he's old enough or big enough to wear it. But listen, I'm confident. I was going to say that I hope, but I'm confident that by the time my son gets to a real playing age, that this club is still going to be around. I mean, and that's my hope for this team and the club in general, that it continues to evolve and continues to grow, and that there's guys, Kale and I are 50, 60 years old donating to the team and coming to the winter parties and meeting all the young guys and all the young players. Like I'm confident, and I can only hope that that's what's going to happen. And again, I can only hope that for some of the other teams that are in the league as well.
All right, well, guys, thanks so much. It was great talking, and good luck for the rest of the preparations, and I hope to see you out in the field sometime in spring.
Josh, thank you so much for having us, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. Really appreciate it.